bust, and Ibuka's running free. All the way for an Ohio State touchdown.
So we've all been in these adverse situations.
Ohio State steamrolls on, and the Spartans lose 4 in a row now.
It's a reality check in terms of, okay, this is what we need to do now because we've all been there.
Week 7 of the college football season is here, and Michigan State is still in search of its first win in the Big Ten after falling to Ohio State 49-20. Mel Tucker said after the game he had someone tell him it looked like JV versus varsity out there against the Buckeyes. They did put up 614 yards of total offense. However, Tucker and his staff made a point to show the players where it didn't look like that was the case in the game, and it's where we begin our chat this week. You brought up an interesting point in terms of after the game against Ohio State. You had someone mention to you that it looked like varsity versus junior varsity out there.
Right.
But you made a major point to show your guys where it didn't.
Sure.
How did that resonate with them?
It does resonate with them because it's on the film and they can see it. And then not only do they see it, but then we can also point out to them, this is why we were able to have success on this play. Whether it was communication, technique, or fundamental, whatever it is. And, the goal is to get 11 guys to run the same play correctly on a play. And that's what happens on those plays. And so it certainly does resonate with them. Where's
the one area where you really want to see them get it right this week in practice? If you maybe had to pick defense, offense, or special teams, but just what's the one you want to see the most improvement? Yep, communication is critically important. That's how you ensure that everyone's on the same page on every play. And so our communication has to improve. And it's not just amongst the players, but it's player to coach, coach to player, player to player, coach to coach. We have to all make sure that we're on the same page. Do you think the 4-game losing streak, there hasn't been that communication? No, it's not been consistent, and that's why we're inconsistent. And a lot of the plays that we show our players, it is a lack of communication, and so that's something that we can attack. I first asked the staff in the team meeting, I said, how many coaches or support staff have been in a situation like this where you've lost a few games in a row? And all of them raised their hand. Almost every single one of them raised their hand. And I said, okay, and I asked the players to look around the room. There's all the support staff there in the back of the room. Everyone has their hand up. And I said, and I raised my hand as well. How many of you as players have been in a situation at any point in your career in sports, any sport, where you lost a few games in a row, and almost every single one of the players raised their hand? I said, so, you've been here before. You should be able to draw on that experience. Okay? How did that particular team respond, positively or negatively? Okay, and what was the outcome? If a team responded negatively, you should be able to draw upon that and say, listen, that's not how you do it. The team has responded positively, you should be able to rely on that experience and say, okay, success leaves clues. Okay, this is how we need to respond, because we've all been in these adverse situations. Okay, and so it's a reality check in terms of, okay, this is what we need to do now because we've all been there. I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I was looking at something, and do you remember the date, November 16th, 1991? November 16th, 1991. I think I was a player at Wisconsin. We played Minnesota. We were on the road. Mm-hmm. We were playing in the Metrodome. Yeah. So you had a game-winning play that resulted in a win for Wisconsin over Minnesota. Snapped a 19-game Big Ten losing streak. Yeah. And it sort of, not just that play, but there were some things that happened for you guys to go on to eventually, kind of turn the tide in a sense. So when you speak to being in adverse situations, I just thought it was a little bit relatable that, yeah, you have been in a situation where you've lost a lot of games, but then also it's kind of crazy how one play or one thing can kind of turn the tide. Yeah, and the difference between, winning and losing is it can be one play. Football being a game of inches,
showed them a profile of Vince Lombardi, because some of these guys don't know who Vince Lombardi is. Arguably the greatest coach in history of the game, college or pro. And he said, you know, football is a game of inches.
How much do you draw too of when you were a player for Barry, and then just sort of how it correlates to maybe some of the challenges that you've had to go through as a head coach?
Yeah, I draw on that experience quite a bit. All of the experiences that I've had as a player in any sport, you know, growing up, whether Little League or, you know, middle school, high school, college, and then as a coach, we go through these experiences like in sports, because in sports, like, there's always adversity. Football is not a game of perfect, so there's always going to be something that needs to be corrected. There's always going to be something to learn from. And at Wisconsin, my freshman year, starting, you know, 1-10 my freshman year, you know, you learn a lot from that experience, and I learned a lot from watching my coaches.
You brought up something too that I thought was pretty interesting when it came to the game against Ohio State, you know, how the fans left about in the third quarter-ish of that game. You were asked about them leaving, and you said that you didn't expect any unconditional support from anyone, not even your dogs who are there behind you, PJ and KJ.
Right.
Where does that mentality and mindset come from?
Just from experience, you know, just from, you know, being in athletics for, you know, a very, very long time. I've coached over, you know, like 325 games, you know, college and pro, so you get so many different experiences. And I realized early in my career that, you know, you're not going to get unconditional support from anyone. You know, it's a production business, and everyone wants to win. And so that's the expectation, is to win games and look good doing it. And so I don't expect our fans to have any lower expectations from us, and I don't expect unconditional support from anyone. That's just not been my experience. It's not a reality.
The Badgers are coming to East Lansing with a lot of momentum. They just beat Northwestern to give Jim Leonard his first win as interim coach at Wisconsin, and quarterback Graham Mertz matched a career high with 5 touchdowns. He's a Guy Spartan linebacker. Ben Van Sumeren will have his eyes on Saturday, and he sits down with us when we come back.
As we go to break, Farm Bureau Insurance invites you to register to win an exclusive private dinner with head coach Tom Izzo. Go to InsideTheGreensweeps.com to register.
At MSU FCU, we believe managing your finances should be easy. That's why we offer totally green checking with no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and tons of account features you'll love, like free bill payment and mobile deposit, free access to your credit score, and much more. Plus, you can easily manage your money anytime, anywhere with the free mobile app. Stop by a branch, give us a call, or visit us online and open your totally green checking account today.